What does Mario 3 have in common with Team NT? Join us as we dive headfirst into the past in the Be Kind Rewind 1990 edition. From mental breakdowns on Mars to animatronics that'll give you nightmares, 225 starts now.
Pizza Dude's got 30 seconds.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast, coming at you from the new local 218 studios. I'm here with my brother.
How much do you come? How much do I come?
I mean, I'm leaving it. You said to use that, so it's used. We're gonna, oh Jesus! Adam Carolla has a great thing about condoms. Condoms are not used; they're spent. It has been spent. Anyways, that's Gabe Johnson.
Dave, how you doing?
Excellent. Things got weird here before we started, but that's what happens sometimes. And over to Oh My Lord.
Hey, buddy.
It's back again. Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth member of the Five-Some Foursome, Mr. Keith Larson.
Super excited to be back.
Well, did he come or what?
All right, let's get right to it. This is the Be Kind Rewind, 1990. So, the Be Kind Rewind, if you're not familiar with it, is a version of the podcast where we sit around and talk about a specific year. We go through all of the nostalgia, your pop culture, your sports, in some cases, your movies, television, music, and just do a rundown on the full year that was. Talk about the things we remember, talk about the things we don't remember, and then hopefully get into some fun tidbits about individual things that happened along with that. So, who wants to start off?
Can you, shut up?
Start off with the Pistons.
We're starting off with music.
We always start off with music, and the reason we start off with music is because it is the soundtrack of the year. And again, 1990, not.
There's nothing.
Please,
Madonna.
Hammer, don't hurt him.
Yes. Please, Hammer, don't hurt him. Get into it. Let's talk MC Hammer. So, debut album, I believe.
Debut album had You Can't Touch This.
Yep.
You know, in 1990, I received that cassette tape for my birthday, along with a dual cassette karaoke machine. So I could sing along rap along with MC Hammer.
That's a beautiful thing.
So you were hurting him as well.
I was hurting him. You know, I was too legit. That might have been the next album.
Next question. Were you too legit?
I was not too legit. I absolutely quit after that.
I was a huge Hammer fan. As a kid at that age, Hammer was great. Until the Addams Family Values rap. That was when I was like, you know what? I think we're moving on from MC Hammer.
Oh, I forget about that. That was bad.
They do what they want to do, say what they want to say, live how they want to live, play how they want to play, dance how they want to dance.
And he's got it down. That was pretty good.
Yeah, it was about somewhere along the point where I realized that I was using brain activity and storing this information for later in life. And I was like, you know what? I think we can move on. So, MC Hammer, anything else on beside his pants and the fact that he went bankrupt?
As is, of course, the tradition.
No, that's
Absolutely
about it.
not. No,
You're
that's
a
pretty
tech
cool.
investor nowadays.
He had really, really cool side stripes. I remember that.
He did. Actually, that's the first hair that I remember, aside from Wild Thing from...
Rick Vaughn.
Rick Vaughn.
Major League.
From Major League. That's the first time I remember being like, that's pretty sweet. The side grooves going on there.
Anything else except for his pants? Absolutely not. Moving on.
Get that little shuffle going. That's a good one, actually. But let's go to the real meat and potatoes here of music from 1990. The one, actually,
Award-winning.
The award-winning. I was going to say the one and only, but one, there was two of them, and they clearly were not the only. Milli Vanilli. Does anyone remember Milli Vanilli?
Yes.
They invented lip syncing.
Yeah.
I mean, this is it. And then it turned out later, after they got yelled at for it, it's a good idea. And now everybody does it.
I have a really hard time understanding. Like, I get the outrage of it. You know, it's like, oh, they won a Grammy for Best New Artist, right? And then turns out they were not singing any of their songs on their album. They just hired two models to go lip sync at malls and in music videos, which is another great thing. Acts just showing up at malls, peak. 1990 is peak, where you could just go to Westgate.
There's something happening.
and all of a sudden you're like, hey, guess who's coming today?
Duran.
In the food court.
I wish we could go back to that.
But no, there's you hire the two models, they lip sync to the songs, they win the award, and then everybody gets outraged when somebody finally goes like, these dudes ain't doing that. But now that's kind of what music is, if you really break it down.
Yeah, they kind of solidified it with the boy bands and girl bands in the late 90s. That's all it is now, is lip syncing and dancing.
And then and then once you throw in the auto-tune to it, how is that any different than...
Well, the auto-tune makes it worse.
Yeah, it's actually worse. It's actually worse.
Well, let's go even further back. So let's go back to the 60s, right? So you get bands like the Beach Boys, or you get that whole wall of sound. Who is it? Phil Spencer? Is that who it was?
Phil Spector?
Spector, there you go. Spector did the production for the wall of sound, but then they did all of the theme songs for like all the shows you can think of, like Bonanza and Mission Impossible, that you can think of like that specific sound with a lot of horns. But the Beach Boys weren't recording their own music. The Beach Boys were a traveling act. Their music was not necessarily recorded by them, at least to now. You can fact check me on that as much as you want.
Was Stamos
He's
not
probably
playing
wrong.
the bongos?
Well, I shouldn't say all of that. So there's the main guy from the Beach Boys who. Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson. There we go. This is perfect. This is a perfect duo right here.
Yeah, you don't know anything, and I know something.
I know vague facts that are
I know Brian Wilson's name.
You get it close, and I'd tap it in.
I know vague facts that are probably wrong. But anyways, in that time frame, you had your traveling act that would go do the concerts. So they knew how to play the instruments, but some of them not well. Like the drummers were not great drummers in a lot of instances. And you would just send them out. But the music itself, they had actual professional magicians.
Here we go, baby.
making magic. Making magic.
A wall of sound. But anyways, they would, their job was to come in and record all those songs. And so how is that any different? I don't understand how that's even remotely different.
It's not much.
No, the music industry is built on that.
Well, if you look at any of those Milli Vanilli videos, it's like it's blatantly obvious that they're not singing. I don't know how that was a surprise to anybody.
Well, and
it's easy to tell.
Didn't they have like thick accents?
I don't remember where they're from. South Africa.
I think they're British. Yeah.
There you go.
Like win the award, and people are like, whoa. What's going on over here, Christian Bale?
I blame it on the rain.
Nice. Dynamite drop in.
That's a good one. Dude, I'm struggling with this hair in these headphones here.
It's obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
very.
it is a mess right now. All right, so let's move on.
It looks better now than it did 10 seconds ago.
I'm well aware.
10 seconds ago, you were
Things
all
are
over
looking
the
up
place for a second.
I'm
glad you said something. I'm glad you said something because I was gonna.
I can barely see my reflection in my screen, and I was like, "What is fucking happening?" Fucking over here looking
like Big Ern McCracken over there.
That's literally exactly what I was gonna say. I'm fucking really fucking Big Ernin right now.
Why don't you go eat that outside and then come on back in?
Carry on.
All right, so let's move on from music. What do we want to do next? Who's got next?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
My list has movies next.
Okay, well, let's skip movies because
Okay.
I've got a couple good ones on movies. Let's go into either TV or games. Which one do we want to do?
My list has TVs next.
Okay, let's
I like your list.
let's do TV.
Let's go with it.
What do you got over there?
I got the one big one to me that debuted in 1990 was In Living Color.
Oh, yep.
That's big.
So that was the first season of 5 seasons. It was created by Keenan Ivory Wayans, obviously,
Yep.
and he wanted to create kind of a modern sketch comedy show, and Fox gave him kind of wide leeway to create a modern sketch comedy show that the kids would enjoy,
Yeah.
and he brought on David Alan Grier and all his brothers, the whole fam, Jim Carrey, and it went on for 5 seasons, but it was a fantastic sketch comedy show.
Yeah, it was amazing. Actually, I loved that show. And one of those very quotable shows at the time. Like
I still say, homie, don't play that.
Should say that
More
more.
money, more money.
I had a 70-year-old lady say, "Homie, don't play that to me."
What?
One time.
Did you laugh?
Working at Olive Garden.
Did you play that?
I played it. I played it
wasn't.
well.
I wasn't invited to play. She was just telling me that she doesn't play that. Because the busser wasn't bussing her table appropriately. She wasn't very happy about that.
What a stupid bitch!
Restaurant talk.
That is that's
Pulled
actually
pulled me aside.
a fascinating story.
Pulled me aside to complain about the busser at work.
So hold on
But
now.
like a geriatric woman.
Yeah, I want to.
That's the best part of it.
70
This
years
is-
old.
this is good.
Jet black dyed hair.
Not playing that.
Inch of makeup, the eyeshadow, the whole 9 yards.
Nice.
Homie, don't play that, she said.
Wow. Where's the beef? Jesus, lady.
Where's the beef?
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Paula.
Yeah. Yeah. Was her name really Paula? Because that's it.
100%. 100%.
She sounds like.
How do we look her up?
was-
What's she look like today?
I was picturing.
Mostly bones, probably.
Sorry,
No. I was picturing.
apologies to Paula's family.
I was picturing.
Paula, jeez.
Shut it down.
And back to Dave.
I'm over here looking like a fucking wet cat. You two are fucking high-fiving over apologies.
over dynamite puns.
Really good stuff. All right. Well, in Living Color, yeah. Kick-started Jim Carrey. Did he go on Johnny Carson before that, or was that after Johnny Carson?
Probably before that, but
Okay.
I don't know.
Because he was one of those ones where he got the call over from Johnny Carson, and that makes you as a comedian.
You're
in
good
those
if
days.
he wants to talk to you further.
Yes. Yeah.
One thing that surprised me on In Living Color is Jamie Foxx didn't show up till season 3.
Oh, really?
He wasn't on all 5 seasons. So he kind of
Interesting.
came in the middle, and it kind of jump-started his career.
Well,
So
I would say that's the end. Like season 3 of 5. You're right. I mean, again, I guess it literally is the middle.
It's right there near 2.5. I don't remember all 5 seasons of it. It's a lot longer than I remember.
I would have thought it was longer because as we were looking up the TGIF stuff from last year, those shows went on for like 8 seasons. So 5 seasons is really not that long to have the type of cultural impact that it had.
But to keep Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans and everybody in play for 5 seasons without them leaving is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing to me that they were able to have as many quotable bits off of that with that many people. Because you hear about like SNL and it was all just infighting, and you're trying to fight just to get your screen time. And here we are, we've got this group, which I'm sure had the same stuff going on, but the amount of various different people that all had just banging hits coming out of that's awesome. Fire Marshal Bill.
Yep. Solid.
Yeah, very solid. Do you got anything else for TV at all? I've got one.
Fresh Prince.
Fresh Prince. All right, Fresh Prince is a good one. Although not so good anymore. Now that we've had Slapgate, you can't go back and just be, hanging with Mr. Cooper there.
Well, we can talk about Carlton.
We can
He was
talk
a
about
solid
Carlton.
character.
I like that guy, his career went into like the game show stuff.
Yeah,
He's
what,
great at it.
Perfect for that.
What does he host now?
I forget now.
Last thing I saw him on was like a Unwrapped or like a How It's Made.
Okay.
How It's Made, just candy. It was
Candy in general?
That's the only thing I remember
So
seeing
broad.
him.
He's probably hosting this year's American Ninja Warrior or something. He's somewhere doing something. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what.
Snacked or something.
Okay. Okay.
Like gas station snack. foods.
Interesting. That's interesting because the guy from Double Dare, God, what was his name?
He's doing Double Dare.
Again, Double
They're
Dare's
back.
back. I did see some T-shirts that people are wearing.
Yep.
So Double Dare's back. That's good. That's a good thing to come back. That's probably about this time frame as well. We didn't look that up, but the guy from Double Dare did Unwrapped as well. So what else you got from Fresh Prince?
I actually wasn't a huge fan of the show, but I just got to be honest with you. I really liked Uncle Phil.
Yeah,
That's about it.
Yeah, it was all right. I didn't hate it.
After the theme song, I usually just changed it. Let's watch Tailspin.
Which also debuted. We hear.
Yeah.
Somebody said before we got started.
How old were we in 1990? Let's go, what, 10, 12?
Yeah. Well, I was born in 82, so the end
So
of...
that makes 8.
Mathematics whiz over here.
1,990 minus.
I was... what I was trying to say was I was in October. You guys were both in December, correct? Like that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, that was funny.
I wasn't trying to say.
1,990 minus. Oh, shoot, my phone's dead.
God damn it. Anyways, yeah, we were 8. Well, 7 and 8. All right, so I've got one from TV, and this was something that just came out of left field, but then blew up and was a huge part of the Badeaux household. NBA inside stuff.
Oh, Ahmad Rashad.
Yeah, Ahmad Rashad.
Oh, that was fun.
Got that on my list.
There we go. What a great show. 1, the intro for it was just fantastic. 2, it was on Saturday mornings, I believe, when it started. And I guess it went on till 2002.
That's great. Really?
Yeah. A 12-year run of that show. That's what I was saying. Like 5 years, you're like, okay, I had no idea that NBA Inside Stuff was still going in 2002. Ahmad Rashad was like 700 years old.
He never looks any different.
No,
he looks the same in 1989 and 1990 as he does right now.
Absolutely
I
does.
don't get it.
That was a fantastic show because, you took the NBA, which was really coming into its own in 1990, just about to hit the Jordan era, coming off of Larry Bird, coming off of Magic Johnson, that whole thing. And then, of course, my favorite part of 1989-90 is the bad boys themselves, the Detroit Pistons.
Yes.
So,
I'm a big fan of them in NBA Jam.
in NBA Jam,
Just Bill
absolutely.
Lambier.
give me Bill Lambier fighting anybody all the time.
But amazing. Like, that was the first time I remember watching basketball and being like, oh, this is different. Coming out of the 80s, there was a lot of fights, a lot of just turn around and punch the guy in the freaking jaw and then just keep playing. Like, it didn't happen. They'd get in a big brawl and then they would just keep playing. But then you get to that Pistons team and they were just going to beat you up. Like, as we're playing basketball, we are all going to beat you up. Bill Lambier, probably the top of the list for that.
Well, that whole team, like every single, I was kind of looking into it a little further. They had Rick Mahorn, who was a big, giant, mean asshole. But then they also had Dennis Rodman, who was just learning how to be an asshole, and Bill Lambier. So 1, 2, or 3 of them got into at least one fight every game for 2 years.
Well,
it's crazy.
And Isaiah Thomas was a fucking asshole. Like, it turns out Isaiah Thomas was a huge asshole.
Well, that guy couldn't even make the dream team.
Yeah, it's because Michael Jordan said he's not going to be on the team, and he's not on the team.
Which is also part of why that story ends up being really awesome, because it's like clearly one of the best players in the NBA, won back-to-back championships. Clearly one of the best.
Don't need you. We'll take Christian Laettner.
Exactly.
Christian Laettner.
Give me that kid from college.
We just need one. But you guys know that Dennis Rodman, probably my favorite basketball player of all time, not because of the stuff later at the end. That I grew it, because as a teenager, I grew into the Rodman persona of, like, we're going to be goofy with our hair. And
Your prom dress was amazing.
It was a very good prom dress. I still have a Rodman doll that my aunt gave me. It is Rodman in a...
This is weird.
In a wedding dress.
In a wedding dress, yep. Rodman in a wedding dress. I still have that doll that my aunt gave me because I was very into Rodman. But anyways, I didn't like Rodman because of that. I learned to like Rodman because he was the fastest dude on the court, and he just went balls out.
He hustled hard.
And going back and watching clips of that, watching him run a dude down, it's like 4 freaking strides, and he's all the way across the court with just these gigantic freaking thighs in those tiny ass shorts.
He was one of the first dudes that I remember, like, that actually played hard defense and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Do you remember anybody else doing that before?
No.
I don't.
And they put him on their best guy. So that's, to me, Bad Boys are awesome. The 90s Bulls are still the best, but that 2 years of the Bad Boys is awesome.
Yeah, I love Dennis Rodman. Bill Laimbeer's great in NBA Jam. Rick Mahorn was the first overall choice of the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Good call.
In the franchise draft. And it just set the course of history. We have gone on to win nearly 40% of our games and be the worst franchise in all of sports history in North America.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick Mahorn.
I thank you.
I'm going to fiddle with these stupid headphones. Yeah, we can move on from that. But NBA Inside stuff, awesome. Ahmad Rashad, former Viking as well. So you got to throw that out. Minnesota connection. All right. Anyways, anybody got anything else from TV or sports? We can go sports now as well, I guess.
Well, I just say NBA Inside stuff. I also have that 1990. That's when NBC got the contract for NBA on NBC. So it was always inside stuff in the morning or early afternoon that led into the doubleheader they had every Sunday.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, and maybe we have to fact check this, but wouldn't that have led to the theme song of our original All Hands In scenario on the podcast?
Yes.
There we go. Thanks, 1990.
Game Time Who? What was the name? What was the name of the guy that made the NBA on NBC? Do you know that? So the guy that made the
I watched a whole show about it. Don't remember his name.
I forget his name, but he was actually an anchor for like Entertainment Tonight.
Yes.
John Tesh was the dude's name. And actually, there's a great story of him telling how when he came up with the idea for it, he was traveling in Europe and didn't have a piano at his hotel. And so he called his answering machine and left himself a message. And there's an awesome video of the recording of him like basically saying, John, this is what you should do for that intro. And then just going, da 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 ba ba.
Hi, this is a message for me about the NBA theme. Here's an idea. It goes like this.
Okay, we'll do it live.
Anyways. All right, let's move on then. Who's got us next? Should we do? I want to do movies last. So has anybody got anything else for TV or sports or anything?
I mean, Captain Planet.
Yeah. Well, we got to. Don't make that face.
It's only the greatest hand-drawn cartoon in the history of the universe.
Well, it's also the start of people just fucking our generation over, because I can't like use a 6-pack of soda and then not cut up the fucking can thing.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
I thought you were the mayor.
It's a good thing, but calm the fuck down a little bit, because if I don't cut that out, I literally believe in my fucking child's mind's eye that I am killing fucking animals.
They did it right.
You are.
Yeah.
That's the point of...
Right.
Stop what you're doing and
I'm pretty sure that cartoon spun off from that. You got the Power Rangers. The whole idea of that made up everything else that came after it. Everybody copied it.
Well, the Power Rangers is a completely different thing. So that's what is it? Sentai? I'm trying to think of what do they refer to that as?
Sure, something like that.
Couldn't tell you.
We'll dub that in.
Super Sentai.
Yes.
Amy.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I can't even remember that.
Wow, that's like episode 70. But yeah, that whole thing was the same thing as like Transformers, where that was just big in Japan, and it wasn't like Power Rangers is an amalgamation of like 4 shows put together.
That was the biggest word I've ever heard you use.
Amalgamation?
It actually makes sense.
Okay, all right.
Good job.
I think you meant amalgamation.
Thank you. It's an amalgamation. Close enough.
I hate you guys sometimes. All right, go with Captain Planet then.
Thanks for calling that out. That was
Jackass.
a really big word you used there. That's not a word.
It was a heck of a
You
try.
made up a lot of syllables there.
Okay, well, Captain Planet. you said.
Yes.
Anybody got anything else?
Life Alert came out. I've fallen and I can't get up. You remember that commercial?
Okay.
It's a great TV reference.
I was going to say, I love that TV show.
We should do more commercials.
I love that TV show.
I'm talking about commercials that happen on TV.
No,
it's a little bit of an amalgamation. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, we used to laugh at that commercial.
It's still funny.
all the time.
For anybody out there who hasn't seen it, go take a quick peek at it.
Who did I want to know who the lady is. 'Cause
Paula.
Oh, yeah.
It must be, Paula.
Yeah.
Mrs. Fletcher. That's what it says here.
Help. I've fallen and I can't get up. Like, give me more. Give me some.
She doesn't try.
No,
She doesn't try.
Some effort. Some effort. At just a little bit.
You gotta be a fly on the wall on that and watch the director just putting his head in his hands. Just, for the love of God, getting down on her level.
Mom.
The meatloaf.
Should have brought Stanley Kubrick in for that one.
All right, well, let's move on to games. Gabe, what do you got for games?
I've got 2 games. The first one is just a question mark. It was like the 7th one to show up on IMDb for games released in 1990. Sex Olympics?
I don't know if I had that one.
Huh?
That's one we found in Grandpa's drawer.
Yeah. Is that SNES or NES?
But I have a computer game that I loved playing and loved playing the whole series, and that's Sid Meier's Railroad Tycoon. Came out in 1990.
I didn't play that one either.
You were big into PCs.
Yeah, you were a computer game kid.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to own Nintendo Entertainment System.
I remember when we snuck a Nintendo into your house and played it for 2 days in a row, and then we got caught.
Why?
That was fun.
Your parents, you know.
Isn't it weird how they do
It's
that?
new and scary.
Yeah, they draw the line on some things, but then we have free reign on the internet.
Yeah, I try very hard to be aware of that with my own kid when she's watching stuff on YouTube or whatever, and I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
This is stupid.
I feel the same way. I
don't know if I want you to be watching this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, well, is this just me being out of touch?
Yeah, I
Is
get
my parents saying that we're not allowed to watch The Simpsons.
Yeah, so that was it's literally the
Like-
exact same thing, except for then Mr. Burns has his dick out. So in my case, of course that would happen. But I see, this is what I don't get about this, right? You're allowed to use PCs, so your parents just said video games are fine as long as your hands are really cramped and uncomfortable. Those controllers are not for us. I want your fucking WASD fucking fingers just cramped.
Yeah, well, with the keyboard in front of you, it looks almost sophisticated.
He must be learning something.
Yeah, must be doing some real work here.
He's up to some real good.
Yeah, he's learning how to compute.
Well, he was a railroad tycoon.
Meanwhile, he's playing Sex Olympics.
I'm sure. I hope that's like Ski or Die, where it's just a bunch of various, or like California games, where it's just various different.
God, that's a good game.
Yeah, but it isn't though. It really isn't a good game. It is a series of marketably. It is a series of considerably less enjoyable games that are just packaged together with a theme of California.
Hacky sack.
Yeah, but none of them are good. The controls don't work. That's how I picture Sex Olympics, where it's just,
The controls don't work.
controls don't work.
That's how I feel about sex.
Whatever this thing is over here is flopping.
It's all flimsy. What the hell?
This button doesn't work.
I keep pushing it. I'm getting the WASD fingers.
Do something.
So, sorry, you said Sid Meier, Railroad Tycoon. I've never played it, and I love Sid Meier.
Yeah, it's a great one. 2 was my favorite. Came out a few years later, and then he did Railroads in like 2006. But he's one of my favorite game developers, mainly for a game released in 1992, and we'll get to that later.
All right.
I want to know what it is now.
Sounds good.
I will wait.
Anybody else have any games that they remember from 1990? Did you put anything down?
My heart wants to talk about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, but it was before that.
It was definitely
I'm
before
sorry.
that. You were probably just learning how, because you told me one time that you beat Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
007 373 5963. It's still the code to get to the
See,
end
now
of the game.
that's worth remembering. I'm over here with MC Hammer lyrics. You're remembering how to punch Mike Tyson.
If
in
anybody
the
ever
face.
wants to get into my safe, that's the code.
I guess it's better than the Konami code. So I'll throw one out real quick. Mario 3, which was a huge thing. And I won't get too far into the story because I know anyone that actually cares knows the story about Mario, Mario 2, Mario 3, and how the U.S. did not get the Japanese Mario 2 because the Mario 2 in Japan was deemed way too difficult for the U.S. And
Mario 3 was released in 1988.
It was in 1988 in Japan.
Okay.
It is 1990 in the U.S., and that's where this story continues.
Does that mean that the movie The Wizard came out in 1990?
So the movie The Wizard came out in 1989,
okay.
I believe.
All right.
Leading up to the release of Mario, which I believe was in like January of 90. So it was just right away, first quarter of
what a game.
So it had already been out in Japan for a couple of years when The Wizard came out, and like at the end they unveiled this great new game.
Yeah, and they did. He hasn't ever seen it before. He knows every secret. It's the best.
So technically, it had been in Play Choice 10 cabinets, which are an arcade cabinet you put a quarter in and can play video games. It had been in that in the U.S. for a little bit, but not for very long. He absolutely would have had no idea how to play Mario 3 in that. But no, the Mario 2 that came to the U.S. is Doki Doki Panic, which was a game released for some kind of festival in Japan. I forget what the festival was. And then they said, well, this will work. And they just redid the characters to be Mario characters. That's why it's so weird. And
I think it's awesome, though.
I think from the lore standpoint, because then that's what they use for the cartoon as well. The Mousers, the Birdos, all that stuff then continues forward. But that was not a Mario game. The Mario game they got was just the same thing, only the first mushroom you go to pick up actually kills you. and there's wind that blows back on you or blow. Like, it's just really, really hard. And I would actually argue it's not that fun. Our Mario 2 is 1,000 times better. They finally released that in Japan as Mario US later on. But so at the same time we're playing Mario 2, Japan has Mario 3. It took 2 years, I think, for it to come over to the US, or at least more than 1 year. By that time, the hype train's going. You've got your Wizard. You've got all this, the big Mario ads. It turns out being a smashing success, of course.
Oh, is that not one of your favorite games of all time? It's got to be.
Yeah, it's just really enjoyable. And the worlds are short, so like you start and you run to the right and then you're done. But that gets to the part that I wanted to talk about was that what they've now, like as you're playing it, you may remember that the set pieces that are in there look like they have little screws in them, in the first one, it's all organic type stuff and then blocks and whatnot. But in this one, there'll be like a big white block and then it's got like 4 screws in the corner. Well, there had been a rumor for a while that the game starts with a curtain coming down and then the curtain goes up. And so people had said, well, it looks like this is supposed to be like on a stage. And then at the end of each level, Mario exits stage right. And there's actually that line that is delineated. Turns out that's actually true. So the stuff in the background that looks like it's bolted, it's supposed to look like it's a part of a play, and it's a set piece that's bolted to the back. Things hang from the rafters as well. So you'll see things that are up in the sky that are then hanging as well. And then you take that and you go to the little hidden trick where if you duck down on the certain blocks for a little bit,
you go behind them.
Mario literally goes behind the scenes. So interesting tidbit.
Surprised you didn't know that.
Yeah, that's my surprising tidbit for Mario 3.
Thin candy shell. Carry on.
Surprised you didn't know that.
So that's what I've got for games. Anybody else got anything else? Should we move into the last category? Or does anyone have a different category?
I've got a news event that if you want me to share it.
Let's go news event first.
Yep. So setting Boston, Massachusetts, St. Patrick's Day, 1990. We're at the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. And 2 cops knock on the door. They're allowed in. And they tie up the guards and steal $600 million worth of art.
In today's money or in
today's money?
Okay.
It was like 200 million then. It was like 3 Rembrandts, a Vermeer, a Monet, and some other people I hadn't heard of.
Yep.
But like 13 works of art, $600 million. This happened in 1990. They still haven't solved it to this day.
Wow.
There are some very world famous works of art that are just missing, haven't popped up anywhere, haven't been tried to be sold on the open market or anything.
So yeah, there's a really good documentary on Netflix, I believe, isn't it? Or is it HBO? Or
It's on Netflix. It's called "This Is a Robbery: The World's Biggest Art Heist."
This is a robbery.
Smart name.
Fascinating because it's basically a mansion, if I remember correctly. But it's in a downtown area, but there's like a garden. There's like you think of like a big how would you even describe it? Like an early century home that was a mansion at the time.
Yeah, it was
then
like a
turned
robber
into-
baron home. It was like
Yeah.
late 19th century, just complete mansion. That was the Gardner Mansion, and they were art collectors, and they just, when they died, just left all their art there and called it a museum.
Yep. And so it's just a bunch of rooms where all the walls are covered in world famous art.
Yeah. So they investigated the guards first, because you should see the image of one of the night guards who let these people dressed as cops in the door, and they duct taped him, as you would do when you bound somebody. But they duct taped him around the head like this, and then around the nose, so he could see and talk. So first suspect, that guy.
They got me. It's actually funny because it looks like they just like wrapped it around his nose, like quite a bit actually. Yep. And then we're like, shit, this duct tape is really good. We can't rip it, so we just kind of put it around.
Keep going.
like
It's
a head
still
bandage.
the whole thing's still hanging off the side of his head.
really what it looks like.
But yeah, then the number 2 suspects, I think, should have been police officers.
Yeah.
Being that the people who walked in were police officers.
Yeah.
But they never investigated the police. They went
course
straight
not.
to the Boston Mafia. Most
Yep.
people dressed up as police.
Yeah.
They have got a lot of leads, but still haven't found
Well, and
anything.
if I know anything about the mafia, they're coming after those paintings. So
I don't think you know anything about them.
no, I don't. Oh well, I should say this: 1990, Goodfellas. So I'm not really going to talk about it, but we'll throw it out there because
Know a little bit about the Mafia.
A little bit. Fascinating story. I'm always really intrigued by the idea that to steal the art, you just go in with a razor blade and just cut it out of the frame. As an artist, that hurts my soul. We were talking about earlier about how my kid's sick, and I was like, had no sympathy for him because it's like, get over it. But someone cutting an art.
You cut a Rembrandt canvas?
Well, it's like you lost like 2 inches of actual painting. Like you didn't just cut it out of the frame.
And that's what they were in there for about an hour. And they pulled the backs off and just brutally cut them out instead of taking the whole damn thing.
Well, you have to. What are you going to do? You're going to pull out the staples with pliers?
Maybe you can probably do that in an hour.
Take the whole frame.
Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
one
can't roll
of
it
them,
up.
the frame was like this big,
Yep.
but they wasted the time to cut the back out and took out the piece of artwork was like the size of like 2 postage stamps.
Yeah.
They could have just tossed the frame in their pocket,
Yeah,
but they did
right
not.
here.
I mean, how many did they take? If you're taking 100 different things,
It was 13.
100 sheets.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
100 frames.
Well, yeah. Canvas is thick, but it ain't that thick. Art heists are fascinating because then what do you do? Like what do you do with this famous painting now?
They haven't done anything with it.
Well, no.
They probably sold it to a Saudi prince, really.
Yeah, or you got somebody that is just making knockoffs of it, which now you just do that with AI, so it doesn't matter. The secondary part to that though is like art is all just bullshit.
What do you do with that? You say it's worthless. Artificially bring the value down. Nah, nobody wants that.
Yeah, I will. As an artist, I will say that it takes a shitload of time to do any type of painting, especially if you're doing that style where it's just layers of lacquer, where it's just thin layers of lacquer. That's how they made those photorealistic things. It's just thin layers of lacquer over and over and over again. That takes time. Those are masterpieces. We should appreciate them. But the whole notion of art, and it's just a scam for rich people to be able to launder their
It's
money.
just money laundering.
It's just
point.
money
Oh,
laundering.
sold for $53 million.
Yeah, right.
Like Hunter Biden has $1 million paintings. I think we can all calm the down on art.
Says the artist.
It says the artist with his art hanging in front of us right here.
For sale, $199.99.
$53 million.
Speaking of art and not the 1990s, did you hear about the Statue of David thing?
No.
It was in North Carolina,
Florida, I think.
Florida.
Yeah.
They were showing the Statue of David, and a bunch of parents freaked out about the pornography, and the fucking principal had to resign.
Yeah.
Dude lost his job
Because he put up a painting of the
I'm not
statue.
sure.
They have a school policy that you have to tell the parents, hey, we're doing this next week.
Okay.
If you don't want your kid, don't send them or whatever.
Sure.
he didn't send out the notice is the reason they forced him to resign.
Okay.
But it's because they showed him David's little penis.
Yeah.
It's so small. It's so small. Oh God.
Literally a Simpsons episode
Yeah.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
But won't somebody think of the children? Priceless statue. Whatever.
All right, let's start wrapping this episode up. So let's get into movies. I've got a couple. Does anybody got a movie they want to shout out real quick?
I want to talk about Hard to Kill.
Oh,
Is that Steven Seagal?
That is Steven
it
Seagal.
is. Yes, it is.
The only thing I want to talk about this movie for, and presumably this is the way, and this is the case in all Steven Seagal movies.
Yes, always.
Is Steven Seagal runs like nobody I've ever seen before, and it's the fruitiest thing I've ever seen. He stands perfectly upright, as tall as he can. His shoulders don't move, only his elbows.
Oh, I gotta look this up.
And his hand, his hands.
I forget
do
how he
this.
does.
Swimming?
It's like he's swatting away. Like it's the. I could watch Steven Seagal run for hours.
He's swatting away time and space to move faster.
Yeah, but like imagine
Propelling
you have
himself forward.
like softballs under your armpits or something, and your shoulders aren't allowed to move. Only, and then it's just like this.
Scott.
Softballs under.
Like. Just because they're not like this. They're not perfectly tight to his body. They're at least out a little bit, and they kind of swing as he runs. But it's mostly elbow.
Oh, can we just stop and watch that for a minute?
How else would he be hard to kill?
I can think about
Stop
the way.
playing all around. I want to jump kick you. No, broken arm.
Somebody let that guy go. Just let him go.
God, that guy could break
Get
an
him
arm.
out of here.
Oh man, some of the best stuff in the world is watching how big of an asshole that guy was. The thing with him on SNL,
Still is.
yeah, still is. Still, it thinks still thinks that he's doing the things that he's pretending to do. Like you clearly do not know karate or any other martial arts. Stop
No,
pretending.
He knows
Invented.
Aikido.
Yeah, that he invented.
Did Double
Or Aikido.
Impact come out in
Aikido,
1990?
Double Impact is probably getting pretty close,
Oh,
but
that's
I
a
don't know
beauty.
for sure if it did or not. But yeah, Double Impact with no double.
Jean-Claude?
Yeah, it can't be because Rodman was green.
No,
hair
you're
then.
thinking of
Oh,
tag
yeah,
team.
you're
You're
right.
thinking
I'm
of
thinking
tag
team.
Double Impact is where
Is-
John Claude Van Damme has a twin brother.
Is twice.
Yeah.
John,
And there's a black silk underwear reference that we better fact check this. But
No, never.
Yeah.
what if John Claude Van Damme was 2?
mind blown.
Twice as cool.
Kicked in the face twice.
That's a good one. I want to throw because kind of sticking along the action stars being weirdos. I wanted to talk about Total Recall. So Total Recall is actually pretty good. I went back and rewatched it. It's pretty good. Aside from Arnold not being a good actor, it's actually kind of a cool movie.
But he acts okay.
Yeah.
But his character that he's supposed to be portraying
Yes.
is like pick something else.
Yeah.
Was he supposed to be like a carpenter or something? Or
No,
he's just like an everyday guy.
So that's probably one of the best things of that movie. In Total Recall, he is a man that is bored with his life and wants to take a vacation, and his wife does not want to go on vacation. He wants to go to Mars. She does not want to go to Mars. Then it shows what his everyday life is, and it's just him jackhammering rocks with his big fucking guns out. And it's supposed to be in the future where they've colonized Mars, and his job is to jackhammer fucking rocks.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah. How do you think they built the pyramids?
well
a jackhammer.
Just throw labor at it.
in this movie there is a pyramid on Mars. But come on now. You the plot of the movie is that we have figured out how to implant fake memories into your brain, and yet your job as a everyday citizen is just to get them guns out and then he does the thing where they're jackhammering and he just turns to his buddy and says, "Hey, have you heard of Total Recall?"
I do not totally recall that movie.
Good. All right, so this is why I want to talk about it. One, it's a pretty good movie. It is directed by Paul Verhoeven, I believe is his name, who is RoboCop, and also Starship Troopers, which I freaking love. But he's overly violent. But the plot is actually very interesting. He wants to take a trip to Mars. His wife doesn't want to go. Mars is like having like an uprising on it, and so he goes to a place that implants a memory of a vacation into your brain. And one of their new options is you can pick to be someone else on your trip. And so he picks to be a spy. And then the movie then breaks, and it becomes that as they're doing the procedure, he has a mental breakdown and he believes that he is a spy. But in the movie, it never fully tells you, because they do this thing where they're like, maybe he was, and then the whole plot of the movie is that these people are trying to pretend that he isn't. And so it's this weird mindfuck of a movie that never gets solved. The whole point of the movie is, but at the end of the movie, you're not supposed to know, is he really just like lobotomized and gone, or is this really what happened? So it's an interesting movie. But the reason I want to talk about it is because there is a director's commentary from the year 2000, I believe, where Paul Verhoeven and Arnold Schwarzenegger sit down and decide they're going to do a what essentially turns out to be a play-by-play of the movie. So it starts off and they're telling all the cool stuff about, we were having problems trying to get this made. Thank you, Arnold, for getting it made. That's why you star in it, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point about a half hour in, Arnold just starts watching the movie and talking about how cool it is. And it does kind of weave back in and out a little bit where they do talk about some behind the scenes stuff, but it's really just him going, hey, watch me throw this guy down these stairs.
He's eating popcorn. And
it's fucking fantastic.
Well, this is me, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and this is me on the screen here, riding towards the camera. I continuously used him as a human shield, then I threw him down the escalator.
It is one of the best commentaries around because Paul Verhoeven keeps kind of talking about various things that are slightly uncomfortable.
Well, you sent it to me, and at about the 5-minute mark, he talks about, because Sharon Stone?
Yep.
Sharon Stone's in this movie, and he's talking about the scene that's happening, about how they really wanted her to take her clothes off a little more, and she was being kind of, she didn't really want to, but we really wanted her to show some more skin, and so what I did is I got revenge on her in my next movie, Basic Instinct. I was like, whoa, dude, you shouldn't admit that sort of thing. Really wanted to see her naked here, and she wouldn't do it. So the next movie, I made her show her fucking beaver to everybody.
Nice beaver.
He admits that, and of course he's sitting next to Arnold, so those two are just laughing up a storm about how I made her show her cruder. Her cruder. It's fantastic though, and I might be playing it up a little bit because the thing that I saw about that when I first became aware of it really made it seem like the whole commentary is just him, basically doing play-by-play. But when he does, it's fantastic. This part's great.
Here, this is my job. I'm a construction worker.
Look at how cool I am in this scene.
Yeah. But it's actually a fantastic movie.
Throw this guy down the stairs.
I continuously used him as a human shield, then I threw him down the escalator.
Throw him, and it's not like watch the stuntman as he takes this really good fall. It's like, no, I threw that dude.
Yeah, the whole commentary is watch this. Oh, watch this. Oh, watch this.
Seriously is, and then it's just Paul Verhoeven saying that we had a lot more gore in this. That was a lot more gory, but they wouldn't let us do it. We filmed a lot more gory. Like the whole movie is just him. Like we get it. You are fucked up and you just wanted a bunch of intestines and they just kept telling you no. But it's every single scene. Yeah, that was a lot bloodier when we shot it.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home right after this and watch the movie. It's one of the movies that I've never actually seen it.
So it was always on, but then it's the edited version. So all that anybody remembers from it is the 3 boobs. Right?
I remember that part.
Yeah, the girl with the 3 boobs. But it's actually kind of fascinating because he goes there's mutants, and I didn't remember why there's mutants, but it's that the government was cheap and built the domes cheaply, and there's a bunch of radiation from the sun, and so people are getting sick and mutating. So it's actually a very fascinating movie, and it's very well done because there's never a conclusion that says this is really what happened. You know, most likely he went to this place and lost his mind.
Yeah, they should remake that movie.
What an idea.
Again. I think that was 2012 that they did remake that. Anyways, does anybody have anything else?
I've got 3 more movies.
Okay.
I only
4.
wanted to talk about Steven Seagal. Right?
I really appreciate that he got brought up today.
We can go.
My day's better now.
Rapid fire on a couple. Of
Yeah, let's
them.
go rapid fire on a couple.
You got Home Alone.
Yeah, yep.
Which obviously everybody knows about. And everybody loves.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, we could do a whole episode on Home Alone, but I think most people.
Do a whole month on Home Alone.
Yeah, I think most people kind of know the fun bits about it. The good ones are in the documentary on Netflix that is The Movies That Made Us, about how they filmed it in a school. So they found a school that had closed, and they made that the offices and everything. So literally the whole production company moves into the school.
Sweet.
They use the gymnasium to build the sets. So the whole house is built in the sets or in the gymnasium. And I thought the most interesting part of that whole thing is that the house that they flood at the end of the movie with the wet bandits, they filmed that in the high school pool. So that's how they were able to flood the house, was using the high school pool. That's actually pretty cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that they never thought they could get John Williams, but they just called him, and he's like, "Yeah, sounds cool. I'll do it."
And that makes the movie.
That makes the movie.
Absolutely makes the movie. That and John Candy, who
And then
also just showed up and got paid like nothing and just made up all of his lines. John Candy in
Polka Polka.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's the
yeah.
Polka King.
Yeah, he got paid like $700, which is not true. Don't quote me on that. But it also evidently just made up most of his lines as he went.
I believe that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Next up, TMNT.
Yes. Okay. I got TMNT on my list here.
Let's go into it.
Okay. Let's go into it. What do you got?
That was my rapid fire. TMNT.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. So TMNT is fascinating. I actually love this movie. But 2, the whole thing is really interesting because of the time frame that it was made. So this is coming right after Masters of the Universe, which was the He-Man movie that got made, which He-Man toys by that point were dying out. And they decided to make a huge budget live action movie, and they did it in the 80s way, which is to make it super fucked up and have nothing to do with anything.
Like the Mario.
Like the Mario movie. There's a few things I found out about it that I thought were really fascinating. One, the packs that they wore on their backs were 60 pounds. So that shell is actually is holding a bunch of stuff to actually allow the animatronics. So they're wearing a head that is latex foam, which also come to find out from Chase, who is our, we'll call him a flatmate here in the brain bunker. Chase works with latex foam a lot, and he said what happens over time is the water just evaporates. So that's why it cracks and just disintegrates, because all the moisture gets wicked out of it. So those things now look freaking nightmarish. Have you seen what those costumes look like now? It's literally nightmares. You'd have to look them up to see what they look like, but they look like zombie versions of themselves. But here's these guys. They're in the costumes. They're wearing 60-pound packs on their back. There's all these animatronics in front of their face. They've got 2 little slit holes underneath the bandana to let them see. And because of that, the director decided that he wanted to give them each a cameo in the movie as well. So the guys that are in the suit are different than the stunt actors that do the stunts in the suits. But the guys that are doing the normal acting in the suit each have their own cameo in the movie, and they get progressively more interesting. The first 2 I always confuse, Leo and Don. I don't confuse the turtles, but I confuse which one is which in the cameo. There's a scene where, not Shredder, but the other bad guy.
Krang?
No, that's the cartoon. But the other ninjutsu guy.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. There's a scene where one of the actors is behind him. The guy that slaps the April O'Neil, this says, "I have a message for you," and then slaps her. That is either Leo or Don. I forget which one is which. But the guy that plays Raphael is actually, there's a scene where Raphael is running from Casey Jones, I believe, and hits a cab and rolls over top of it. And the actor that plays Raphael is in the back of the taxi and says, "What was that?" And the guy says, "Looked like a turtle or whatever."
Who played Casey Jones? Do you remember?
Yeah, I forget what his name is. I mean, I'm literally on IMDb right now, but of course my brain can't operate two things at the same time.
Can't operate one.
You are absolutely correct.
Steve Berblin.
I'm on the IMDb page, but I can't find this character and the actor that corresponds.
I can't find the cast.
It's right in front of his
Can't find the cast.
right in front of his face.
It's literally right in front of my face.
Yep, top right one.
Elias Codius?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Elias Kodias?
Kotias. Is that what it is?
No, that's what I would be if that's how
it's not what it is.
looked like.
That's what it is.
But anyways, Josh Pius is the guy
Elias
that
Kotias and Josh Pius?
Ias Trias and Bias at Nias.
Let's move on. Let's try and wrap this episode up. But anyways, so Josh Pius is the guy that plays Raphael. He also voices Raphael. He's the only turtle that voices the turtle as well. But the really cool one is the actor that plays Michelangelo has a cameo in the movie, and he is the pizza guy that delivers a pizza to Michelangelo in the movie. And I thought that was fascinating. Because that's one of the best scenes in the whole movie.
Little did I know.
The first 3 minutes?
Yeah, it is. Well, come on. How do you
Shut her
not love
down.
that?
Where's Full House?
Donatello's talking to him about how like Splinter's gonna die, and Michelangelo just goes like, "Pizza dude's got 30 seconds." That's his response to, "Hey, our master's gonna die." And then, by the way, hey, the guy that plays him delivers the pizza to him. So.
Pizza dude's got 30 seconds.
The other fun fact about that movie. The director that directs it was known for music videos, did Michael Jackson's Billie Jean, did a couple other ones for famous people, but he directed the music video for Aha.
Oh, Take on Me.
Take on Me, which has the pencil drawing.
Yeah, awesome.
In the movie, TMNT, or Turtles, he reused that. He said, "I wanted to reuse that concept." So that thing where they have the drawings of them.
Oh, yeah. Good job.
Yeah, he reuses that in the movie. And then got fired because it was too dark. All right, who's got anything else? Because we really got to wrap this.
We got two more. We can wrap her up, or we can.
No, let's go two more. We got it.
Okay, just quick ones. Edward Scissorhands.
Okay, yep.
Which was a fun movie from 1990, but it was the first of 9 collaborations between Tim Burton and Johnny Depp.
Oh, that was number one.
Maybe the best one, but
yeah,
they work well together. I think every film they've worked on together has been fantastic.
Nice.
And then number 3, Joe versus the Volcano.
That's another one. I think I've only seen it like once.
I recommend watching it 2 or 3 more times. It is watchable.
Gabe, you come over tonight. We're going to watch Total Recall. Yeah.
But that's the first of 3 Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan joints.
Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that because she has like black hair in that movie too. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's early Meg Ryan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's the one that 1990 stardom. Yeah.
So what else? So you got Mail.
Yep.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Sleepless in Seattle. Sleepless in Seattle was first.
In Seattle, and what's the one with Sandra Bullock?
Speed.
That's While You Were Sleeping.
While You Were Sleeping.
Yeah.
Oh, I get those movies mixed up all the time.
Speed.
Can't imagine why.
No, I can't either. All right, let's finish this episode up. Anybody got anything else at all to wrap up? Anything you wanted to kick out to end up the 1990?
Oh, not 1990.
Okay.
Well, yeah, the Twins finished in last place in 1990. Stay tuned
Where's the
for
first,
1991.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Yes. All right, thank you to Gabe Johnson.
Thank you, Dave. Opening day for the Twins on Thursday when this episode is released.
Awesome.
Go Twins.
We're looking sharp.
Yeah.
We look decent.
Appreciate it. And over to the Boutros.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And lastly, to the fourth member, Mr. Keith Larson.
On my way home to watch Total Recall.
I'm
literally going to watch it.
It's great. Arnold could be a better actor, but other than that, like really interesting concept when you break it down. All right, we will be back next week. We've got 2 things that we need to do. We've got to do another draft day, baseball related. We can probably hold off on that. But the one we've got to get done is Name of the Year. We have not done Name of the Year because we are going to do just 1 episode on it this year. Again, I was hoping that the people that initially did Name of the Year were going to pick up the torch again, drop the ball again. So we've given them enough time.
I don't think they dropped the ball as much as they figured out it was a very insensitive game, so they stopped playing it.
We don't care. Sensitive? We don't care. All right, ladies and gentlemen, stick around. Next week, we will be back with Name of the Year 2023. And until then, we're done. So the one thing that I wanted to throw in was about just movie rentals in general, because this is peak movie rentals, 1990. And one of the movies that came out that flopped in the box office but then hit it big on home video was Tremors.
I was going to bring Tremors up. That was a good one.
Come on, 1990?
Yep.
No, I thought that was older.
I can't believe we didn't know that. I would have talked about that for 5 minutes.
Yeah, Tremors is great. Two things. One, Kevin Bacon had been on a series of flops by that point and was like, I probably shouldn't do this movie. It seems like it's going to flop. And then
giant worms. I'm going to stick out. I'll pass on this one.
And then read it and was like, all right, we'll go with it. And then
I got nothing better.
And then it flopped.
But it was a good movie.
Yeah, so it was a great movie. Its budget was like $10 million. It ended up
is a perfect movie.
I would actually argue that you're probably pretty correct.
Yeah.
Argue that you're probably pretty correct.
Ended up grossing like what this says $16,667 at the U.S. gross on a budget of $10 million. So it barely made any money. But then made a killing.
Did you say 16,000?
That's what
16
I
million.
heard.
Sorry, 16 million. Okay. I did say 16,000. 16
You
million.
opened in one theater for one day and then shut her down. Shut her down.
So Keith is looking at my screen here. It just says two things. It says snapping turtles, because I was watching a small little documentary on this, and the guys that made the creatures decided they wanted the heads to kind of look like snapping turtles, so that especially the top part. But at one point, these snakes.
It makes sense now. I get it.
Had
it's more furry, isn't it?
No, they had these snapping turtle heads.
Oh my God!
Look at
this weird thing I found again.
He said furries. These snapping turtle things. At one point, the special effects people thought that, much like a shark covers its eyes, this would have flesh that would cover
a
its
foreskin.
head.
That's exactly the word I'm looking at.
So these worms had foreskin, and it took a lot of convincing from other people involved in the movie to tell to tell the special effects people, hey, we got to go in a different direction because those are penises.
I don't want to wreck your guys' day, but
It really changes the graboid.
That's a penis.